All right, and welcome back again to I Know Everything About Mordheim. We're going to do the intelligence, which is going to be just exhausting as leadership because there's a lot of skills here. And then again, since we're in this category, you can see it's a bunch of SP skills. So, which is what the mentals are. This is the strategy mental part of the branch of stats. And we start with the banger. I fucking loved Battle Plan. I made a cheerleading sisters warband. It's blown Albro's mind. I was playing him and he just couldn't figure out what was going on, I think. There's three ways to get your units to act more, even though they've had their turn. There's Order, which we talked about. There's Sisters Sigmar Second Wind, and then there's Battle Plan. And the Battle Plan is like the way of transferring OP to your units if you're not the sisters. So you use Battle Plan to take your leftover SP, hand it to a unit that hasn't acted. Well, that has acted, and you want to recharge its OP either for counterattacks, which is how it's intended, but what really happens is you just delay, you recharge your OP, and then you keep swinging. Which I don't know if that was intended or not, right? Maybe it was. Either way, that's what's happening. And to be fair, you can use them for counterattacks. Like, we've talked a little bit about like swift counter and counter blow and ways to like use OP back. And that's totally viable. It's fine to use them as counterattacks. But generally, your opponent will be like, oh, wow, they just got OP. Maybe I don't attack into them. And so you've kind of wasted them. So it's generally always use delay and then attack. But you can, of course, 100% use them to store for counterattacks too. Either way, it's really good, but really fucking awkward to use. It's really awkward. Like, you need to be near the unit with SP and you cannot be engaged in combat. Like, so you need to be like this cheerleader on the second line. And the number one unit I used it on was the Sister Superior, because she's usually in the back line anyway, doing 4 Sigmars. Well, once you're there, turn it into battle plans. It's kind of a natural evolution for her. You can use it on purifiers that are standing there with the. Now, you don't love this. They're standing there with like a shield and they can get engaged in combat. Of course, the second you're engaged, it's over. So you generally need to set up very well for battle plans. Um, I think I used it in Mercs way back in the day with some champions. They were battle planning my ogre. Yeah, it does probably. Restores one offensive point that can be used. That's it. Or after delay, right? I don't know, right? This is where like it's like the mind blowing up meme guy with this, like once you realize what it can truly be used for, you're like, "What? I can just delay?" I think this is a fun skill. I think it's super fun. I enjoy using it, um, especially in the cheerleader builds. I think the basics okay, and the other one's great. I'm not gonna say it's elite or anything because of the awkwardness of using. Especially can't be engaged. Need to get up within 30 meters, right? If you're 30 meters away, maybe your units get overwhelmed because your one unit's just standing back there, right? But I think it's something that's not used enough. I think it's awkward as hell on a henchman because they only have 6 skill points. I try to use it on the sisters because they have repentance and I use it on the sisters a lot because of the cheerleading maiden's a big deal, right? And that they kind of have units that have really good. The sisters have probably the best mentals in the game, so they have a lot of stats and stuff in there too. And you only need 3 and 9 though. This isn't a major fucking investment. I used it on warrior priests. It always seems to be kind of like second line units. Like warrior priests are a great one. See, that's the other thing. You use it on a unit that uses up all its OP and then it's just sitting there on a stack of SP. You're never gonna give battle plan to an archer. That's fucking asinine. So that does bring it back to like these second line mage units. So you've cast your comets, and then you're like, all right, I'm standing here. Here's some battle plans. I'm going to turn my SP into OP. I really think it's best on sisters. Warrior priest, it's great with. A warlock uses that concentration. That's what it's called. So he has a little less SP around, right? Like you could see it with Eshin, right? I don't know. There's a lot like Skaven could probably use a lot of battle plan, and I think it's great. I think it really is. It's right up there with Order, which I think I put up there. Maybe I had Order one higher, only because it's a little easier to use. Being locked in combat sucks. So, but that's a fun skill that I don't think's used enough. Then we get to study. This is weird as fucking hell. Okay. And a lot of people just don't get it. So it says target single enemy. So what you need to do is have a second line unit, say the second line unit we're just talking about, which I'd much rather be using battle plan, but now it can use study. So what it has to do, and this is where it gets weird as hell. Say your henchman is engaged with a bloodletter. If you use study now on the bloodletter, it does not help that henchman. The henchman's still fucked. What it helps you is if you then walk up and engage the bloodletter. It will now have a malus, a penalty, where you gain dodge and parry. So that's really awkward as hell. So it has to be like a unit you see coming down the road towards you. You then study it, and then like hope it walks into you, or you have to walk into it and still have SP to do a dodge or parry, or get the benefit the next turn. So it's super fucking awkward to use, and that alone makes it brutal. Then if you combine the fact that I'd rather literally use any other like active intelligence skills, you're going to find study just is not going to perform. And I don't want to say it's awful. It clearly works to an extent, but no one's going to be using it. I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, I could make a funny memey build and maybe use it. So we'll just say it's bad and not good. Oh, is that true? Interesting. I always thought so. It just gives the debuff to the unit. So my henchman would gain that. I thought it was only the target that applied it. Because it says increase users. So if you're telling me that's wrong, then it's definitely stronger. So if I could like study the bloodletter and then the unit engaged with it gains that buff. So you're saying it's basically a debuff whoever you use it on's dodge and parry bypass chance? It's a buff for the user. That's what I'm like the user, right? Okay. So I use it. If I use it just on one target, it always gives it to me. That's still just see this description is weird. Cuz you have to use it on an enemy. I would think it'd only be that enemy. Okay, so your buff, if you just use it once, you gain 40% dodge and parry. Well, that's different. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's a little better then. Actively gaining that much dodge and parry with little effort seems decent, actually. Like, why wouldn't I take that over a void or just even stack it with a void? It seems useful, like, even on my novices. Whoa. Did it again. Oops, I did it again. Maybe it's just okay then. I think that's okay. It isn't weaker. It's actually kind of stronger because they're 15 and this is 20. So if you can just find a target close by, what's the range on it again? 15. Oh, it stays at 15. I thought one might. I'd say it's just okay then. I think there's a use for it. That's interesting. Combat savvy, like I should use this more. It's very good. Maybe I can still work it into my team, but you just can't. You cast apply it to your melee resistance tank. And when you use that, you get really good results, good dividends. It's basically the active version of awareness, which we just talked about. So there might be a place for me to place this into my team, especially like my purifier could use this on my auger. And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should. So I might take that. I think it does its job just great. I think even the basics useful. Part of me would almost say they're good because I think melee resistance is really good. It's like the best kind of defense. It's better than like secondary stances, you know, like parry and dodge. Like just literally not being hit is good. Yeah, exactly. It's great for what it's good for. And in that sense, I think it is worth a little bit more. I don't want to say it's great because it's still a little awkward to use and the cost is a little high. Like your unit has to be near the other one that wants it. You know, you have to set up a lot of things. If I'm setting it up early, I'm only down to 4 SP now for that unit. So it's like, so if your purifier has it, is she going to be able to hit and run comets next, you know? But I think it's good for what it's used for. In its role, it definitely does its job, and I think it's pretty much similar to vanilla, maybe just extended the duration. Exploit positioning is basically insult. That can't be used while engaged, and that's the very hard part about it. Like insult does the same thing. It's 10 and 15. We just rank that as like elite, I think. This is a big deal. Like that's where the problem comes in. I'm sorry. Same thing. Like these are big deals. So it's insult, except it's harder to use. It's basically what it says. The only difference being insult was 9 and 15. This is 6 and 12. Probably because it's harder to use, right? And it's a secondary category, so you could use both. And I want to use exploit positioning. I do, but I find I'm always just using insult. To get 30% melee resistance penalty, that's a good thing too, right? So I think it's useful and it has a role. It's just harder to use than insult. And that makes it lower than insult. Why the fuck is it an arrow? Can you please help me understand? Why isn't it like a snapping shield? So I think they're just okay. Where insult was up here. And I think there's not big difference. 10 and 15 is both fine. Right? If you're basically doing your job over 2 turns, you're probably killing the unit or hitting it as much as you wanted. It's doing its job versus 3. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. It was. You're right. You're right. It was ranged. Before I can forget all this, because there's a lot of these. Quick prayer, okay, and then the last 2. The OP and SPs. Plea, increase casting chance, but you get more curse chance. Okay, so in vanilla, I think it was called conspiracy. I want to say it's conspiracy. You would put the conspiracy runes on your Sigmarite hammers as divine casters, and you'd gain 20% casting chance with 0 drawback. Everyone and their mother used those. You only literally like kind of needed 1. So plea had 0 purpose. Okay? For devotion. The mod, he has changed that. And so that is a direct nerf to divine casters. They have had no benefit from it. Because I've been going on about how divine casters are not great anymore. I mean, I don't want to say they're still really good at buffing, but like they had things taken away and nothing like replaced it. But now You could say they needed that. They were too strong, I guess. I don't know. So now you have plea, which is how they have to kind of get the increased casting chance. The other option, and I actually did not know this until very recently. I can't believe I did not know this. But there's like, it's a little skull. It's a consumable. I think it's like etheric focus or something. It's a consumable that doesn't go away, just like the map of Mordheim. I did not realize this. You use it, and it increases your casting chance by 10% for 3 turns. And you keep it. And you can keep using it every fucking mission. Yeah, I know it still works, but they get the wrath chance, so it's a it's a pretty big nerf. They get to blow up even faster, which comes back to this, which is why we're talking about it. Um, so you have a way to increase. There's rosaries as well as the other one. There's 3 of them, right? And you can use them all in PvP without consuming them. So that makes plea still less useful. So I'm talking about why plea wasn't that useful, is basically the point. And then the last thing is there's greater curse reduction in vanilla, but now it's by your second spell. By my second comment, I have a 15% chance to be cursed, which is not insignificant. So I can reward myself with, I guess, immediately having a 15% chance. 30, 45, like you start to see the problem here. This is a tough skill to want to take. When there's other options to increase my casting chance, something that doesn't go away literally in PvE, for the same, I think it's 1 or 2 SP, you consume it, but don't consume it, and you've just increased your casting chance without increasing the curse chance. So I really struggle to see the point of plea. The only exception would be like a healing circle, sisters. And I wouldn't even say a healing hands, a warrior priest, because he can use his attack, which gives him increased 20% chance. It's like divine fervor or something. I don't know what the fuck it's called. Divine rage, something. So if you really want to ensure you get your healing circle off, you pop a plea and then throw this out there. That's the point of the plea. Exactly, which is what he's saying in the comments. But do I want to spend 6 skill points on that? Do I really want to spend 6 skill points on that? I don't know, man. Right? So then we're literally looking at sisters, and I know this is confusing, but there's the same version for the chaos. I don't know what it's called. It's got a similar name. It's maybe something with Zeech or something. So it's the same skill. We're looking at the sisters. We can look at it maybe at the end. I don't want to reload everything. The other unit that would use this is a Doomweaver. He would take this skill. He wants to trigger Divine Wraths, but he also has a better chance to cast. And as he eats things like, I can't remember the name of it either, but there's a curse he can take which decreases casting chance. So he really kind of wants plea because he can self-decrease his casting chance as well. And you want to explode a lot. Wild casting. Is that what it's called? That's the version. So I think wild casting, plea, these are the same things. I think the Doomweaver loves wild casting. He loves it. So there's a handful of units that love it. It's hard to even say they love it, to be honest. Is honestly paranoid. I don't want to. Is it in here on this? Do you see it in here? I don't want to have to redo all that. It might be one of these hands. We'll find out at the end, I guess. I would say basics okay. I would say mastery's just not good, honestly. That 10% for 4 skill points, I think it should be easy to master, and then that would move back up. Is this it? The book? The wild book? See, in that case, I think it's like this is always the caveat. I think it's great for the Doomweaver, but that's like I can't put asterisk Doomweaver only. Yeah, I don't think this is. What is that? That looks like study or something. They all these look so fucking similar. Yeah, I thought it was like one of these. Yeah, like these two. I think that's that, and this must be the one. Yeah. So in this case, I think it's great for the Doomweaver. Only the Doomweaver, right? I think I almost honestly, I think I only take basic though most of the time because it has a better curse chance. So I think the basic is great. I think that's not good again. All right, you're gonna make me load all this. I should have done two of these. Okay, there's a Magister. We'll just do these while we're here. Stupid dumb names. So that was wild casting. Quick casting reduces it by 1 offensive point, increasing casting penalty. So a less chance to cast it. So basically, Necromancer we're talking about now. Let's get these up here before I lose my fucking mind. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you can use it with Sorcerer. Again, you need to take it in combination. I think you could maybe plea and then, or wild cast and then quick cast. No, you have to use it right away. So never mind. He would have to like drink his consumables because you don't want to fuck up the lightnings. But the Necromancer has the ability to increase casting chance. Or is that the Eshin now? God, I'm losing my mind. These are all so convoluted. I think the Eshin gets the increased casting chance. Where is it? Yeah, so he could use it all the time when you pick up a stone because he's not going to suffer that penalty at all. He's just going to blow up faster, which is lovely. This guy has less curse chance, but it would decrease his chance to cast it, right? Whew. It's just that simple. So with wild casting, the Eshin picks up a stone, and he's not even feeling this, so he has a better casting chance. Wait, are we talking about this one again? Increases casting chance. Chance to trigger reduces the. Did I put these in the wrong order? That's what I did. Wild casting. I was doing it this way. Yeah, so the Eshin would pick up a stone and then do a quick cast, and he could do some like lightnings and then just blow his fucking head off. The Necromancer would want it um, because he has reduced curse chance, so he can keep casting as well. Ugh, it's too much. Either way, like you're just still hampered by how much you can fucking cast in this game. I'm just gonna call them okay, honestly. All these like casting ones are just hard nerfed by like you can't keep casting without exploding. So it's hard to like invest in any of them. It could have a use window and it's cool on certain builds. What you would want to do is use these in conjunction, in my opinion, with like a ranger, like an Eshin ranger, a Necro ranger, a Warlock ranger, or like ranged unit. So you'd want to do some of these and then use your OP to not blow up and just shoot somebody which I don't think anyone in the tournament currently has that build, and I don't know why. It's like it should be a standard build. Fuck, let's just go back and then finish the lady version. We're looking at active skills, right? So that's like quick prayer. We did exploit positioning. Introspection and meditation should be left. So reduces the cost of the next spell cast by 1 offensive point. Increases casting penalty. So blow up sooner casting comments while casting them at only 80% instead of 85. Do I want to do that? No, I really don't. I don't think that's amazing. People keep telling me to do it. I'm not going to do it. I literally on the second comment I'm taking so many goddamn debuffs. It's okay if you want to use it. I really think I'm just done with these kind of skills. Like the Doomweaver loves the basic one to blow up everybody. I think investing in this is too much, 6 skill points for the minimal return. And then just casting too much is going to get you murdered in the game. So yeah, maybe. I still think you just hit somebody and then cast it. I think you just get the Divine Rage or whatever his thing's called. I think it's Divine Rage. I think there's other ways to skin the cat, as they say. So he doesn't necessarily even need that. And again, it all comes down to, or you just pop a consumable. Why don't you just pop a consumable? So, and then there's one that's not even consumed in PvE, right? So if you just take that with you every mission, you're just using that over and over for a 10% casting chance benefit. So casting is just like Russian roulette. It's just roulette. It's casting dice, literally. Either you cast and you get it, and then you bypass magic resist and you don't blow up, or you don't. You're just throwing the dice all the time casting. I don't know how else to say it. So everything's just okay because you ultimately can't cast endlessly. And in that sense, they're always going to be just okay. Like, they're never going to be godly or elite, in my opinion, because you can't just keep casting. And if you're using something single use you're talking about with like the prayer, I think you just hit the unit and still then just, do it. A lot of the units have just hit the unit too, like the Matriarch and the Magister hit the unit, and then you can do some casting stuff. Yeah, we gotta skin the cats. And so I think you could do things like reduce it to easy to master, and you might have something useful then, in my opinion. More than just okay. And okay is just average. It's our starting point. It's got uses if you want it. It's not everyone's fucking taking this. It's world changing and all that, right? So introspection turns 2 strategy points into an offense point. I don't use this often, but I feel like that's kind of godly. You could knock it down to elite, but I do think it's kind of godly. Like, every single ranged build I make uses introspection. Henchmen especially. I mean, I might not say that for the heroes because they use ad rush. Every one of them also uses ad rush. But the basic version, and that's what we're looking at, all of my henchmen use it. Like, why would I not have 7 offensive points for my ranged henchmen? So it unlocks different things that you can do. You can do skill shot, weapon swap, right, to a dagger. Huge deal. You can do a skill shot and a headshot. You can do shot, skill shot. Like, it's a big deal, and it's like should be standard on every single ranged henchman. So if it's should be standard on every single ranged henchman, it's godly tier. This man's talking about 7 soulfires. My God. Mine would make it to 2 for it's eating every fucking debuff. Stunned, repent, fervor, mind numb. It would just be fucked. It's so fucked. And this is how you kill your hero while doing 100 damage to your enemy. Yeah, and then mercs with Hunter, they can recharge that introspection so they don't even miss it. It just is amazing. So, okay, everyone else, melee, like, I don't think they're really using it, right? It's literally just for archers. I can't see any other use. Like, why would a melee unit? Because you can't be engaged, right? So why is a melee unit turning strategy points into offensive points out in the middle of a field or in a house? Like, what is he fucking doing? Now you could say you could do this with a mage, but we literally just talked about that. Like, you know what I need to do? I need to cast a fifth comet. Like no one is doing that. Nobody's doing that whatsoever. So yeah, exactly. So and Paranoia said a caster could when they, but again, this is we're talking right now about basic. Yeah, I could see like a caster turning, but they still have to reload. But you don't have to do as many reloads. We just talk about like the Necro Ranger. You do some casting with OP. You've spent no SP. Then you can use 2 to get back some OP to then keep shooting. But in that sense, you're just a shooter again. But and now so mastery, it just does 2 to 2, and it's an exact ratio. I also think that's pretty fucking amazing. And I would just say maybe elite. It struggles because it takes 15 to get. That's a struggle. That is a true struggle for some builds. For example, I the young blood, I think he has to use a book to get to it, and so does the marksman. I think both maybe have to use a book. Um, the the caster rangers, it's not as big a deal, but a lot of the ranged units will kind of struggle to get to that. Um, so my marksmen are actively using it. I'm doing 4 vital shots because in the mod, Mastery Adrenaline Rush would give me only 2 OP, and then you could do basic introspection. What I'm actually doing is Mastery Introspection, 1 Ad Rush. It's like 2 different ways to get the same outcome. So you can also consider that with other builds, like maybe the Young Blood. But it allows you to get 3 more OP back, and then you can do another skill shot, like vital shot. You can do 3 headshots. You can do 3 sniper shots, for example. So this is like a really, really important skill for ranged units, and it's exactly who it's for. I just don't think it's. You start to hit a wall. If you're doing skill shots, you're not proccing Hunter. You're doing skill shots, so you don't recover any SP. So it's a bit more awkward. But I still think they're extremely good on ranged units. Like they should be standard on ranged units. I think you're harming yourself by not taking them on ranged units. Which gets us to the reverse Uno card, meditation, turning offensive points into strategy points, which I guess is like a lotus. I don't know what it is. Just put it up here. Um, so the basic, it's good. It's not going to be like a life-changing unit or a skill, but like for a henchman, if it gets you a little closer and then you can lock down that range unit, that was really worth it, right? He happened to put him on a wall, you fucking punished him. So it stretches your movement a bit. It's funny, now that I'm looking at this, I think I did this too. You could take meditation. I think I did this on my sister superior. She has mastery meditation. She turns the offensive points that she's not doing anything with on the first turns, turns them into strategy points for more 4 Sigmars. And she also used it against Albro. She turned her offensive. It's so convoluted, but she turned the offensive points into strategy points to then use battle plan to turn them into offensive points for the maiden. So meditation's really good, like when you're not doing combat, because you can't use it in combat. Yeah, you can use it to loot the map better. You can run around more. It gives you more mobility. But I'm never gonna say it's like, I don't think this is as essential in every build. It's not something like, oh my god, how did you not take meditation? Because it does cost you OP, right? So I don't think it's great. I mean, it's just like a strategic kind of thing. It's useful when it's useful, but maybe you, right, and you lock down a unit, but you know what, it could have been useful in that build? Maybe I could have taken a staggering blow, right? And now I didn't take staggering blow because I took meditation. So then I wasn't able to do that initiative swap, right? See, this is where these skills get like awkward, is it's competing with other things at this point. And at that point, it's a good skill, but it's got to compete with other things that are vying for the slots and skill points. So, and then meditation, it takes 2 and turns it into 2. It's a little more awkward. I think this is just casters only. And it starts to move into like okay territory to me. So we were talking about casters. You don't want to endlessly cast. So what you can do is turn those leftover OP into SP and do the thing like stimulus we were talking about, or combat savvy, or back off, right? I could call it good. I think both are just kind of good. Because you can't, it does like introduce more strategy. Casters, if they're not going to be a ranged one, because purifiers literally can't be, right? Go fuck myself. They can turn it into like other things that they can use for tactical advantages. And they're going to have 15 intelligence anyway. So it's used for casters that, in spite of everyone telling me to plea and blow my brains out, I can meditate into battle plans or combat savvy, stimulus, all kinds of stuff like that. Okay. Oh, you know what? We're here, so we'll just do this. And then we'll find a caster. I forgot casters have a lot more. I don't know. I guess, well, Warlock. He has 5 passive slots. We can go to a Warlock after this. God, and we have to do like the holy version again. FML, as the kids say. God, this is an intense group. Resist corruption. Okay, I love that it's free. I don't love the number. Like, it's like piddling. Yeah. Nothing like stunning right in front of like a fucking demon or an impress. Oh, look, I just laid it down for you. Just rape her for me, please. Just get her real good. I wish this was higher. I think it could be, and it would still be fine. It suffers from the same problem from the rest, is that it's fighting for a passive slot. And since it is, I think it's just okay. Like literally 2 units I think I take it on. Actually, literally one. One, I would say. And it's the mutant. And I was going to say the necromancer, but he takes the the undead have a version. So he's not even taking it. So it's bad. Honestly, I think it is like bad. I think that needs to be a higher number to compete with things like swift jump. Like stone debuffs are really bad, but is 20% making a big difference for me? No, it's not making a big fucking. Okay, maybe the Ashen Sorcerer. I agree. It's been a while since I played one. But anyone that gets a buff by picking up a stone, you could say Witch Hunters too with Ardent Cleansing. That's another one. But this 20 is just it's rough, right? This is like we've talked about like tertiary. This is like a quaternary roll. I won't even call this a tertiary roll. This is a roll you're putting on yourself, like poison and stun checks, and those are like tertiary. This is like a quaternary roll. I don't know what this is like the 4th line, like traps and wordstones. Like traps, you could say you're not even like a wordstone. You're picking it up. Turns your base 20, yes, but so he's saying base 20, so you're now at 40, but like a cluster also drops it further then, right? So I remember clusters I'm at 0% at base, so maybe it makes clusters only 20%, which I don't know. It starts to become really bad. Yeah, clusters minus 20, so you're back to 20 instead of 0. Fragments, which who the fuck's picking up fragments? That's 40. You know, you always pick up the biggest ones first. So I think this just needs to be bigger numbers. If I'm mastering this bitch, it better be 100. Like, my God. You can make this 60 and 100 or 50 and 100. I don't know. They need to be higher numbers. Like, my ass ain't taking the skill and then eating a stone debuff. Let's move it down. The more I'm thinking about it, I'm getting angry. So I just talked about tracker versus nimble. I love that it's free. This is a great call, just like these are. Um, and it's cute. Like certain builds for the sisters, I want to manipulate my initiative for 4 Sigmar or somebody first and whatnot. So I think it's got a cute use. It's better than it ever was with like trap resistance. That's why it's a picture of a trap. So I'd say it's okay. Like these mastery ones are always hard to like find a use for. It is easy to master, so it acts like a celerity rune. But I don't want to. It feels bad putting it here, but you're usually not that concerned, honestly. I'll be quite honest. Um, if you're playing like a tournament where you can like have sneak attacks and ambushes, it goes up, right? But I think it's just kind of bad, actually. Easy to master is great. That's kind of mean, though. I mean, it could have a use. Maybe you really want to speed someone up. I don't know. And it's only 2 fucking skill points. So it's better than it ever was in vanilla. Knowledge, ambush, increased movement range. Okay, I was thinking of this one, and there's also a helmet. If you take this with, what is it called, vigilance? So increased movement range after being ambushed. It's stackable. Again, I think people are kind of sleeping on this one. Yeah, exactly. So on a henchman, it'd be, yeah, right? You have to master it. It's hard. It really is hard. Like, why do I really want to go fast anyway, unless it's like an ambush deployment or something? I don't know. It's just awkward. It helps you with your ladder, and the basic free one can help you with your ladder. That's great. You start to get in the mastery, it gets awkward. 30 might even be way too much, right? I only needed 20. And then you just switch your weapon, or there's other ways to do this. Okay, is it this one? Or is that Knowledge Mordheim? It's a dagger. That is Knowledge Mordheim. I should know that. I've taken it 1,000 times. I think this one's interesting. I think it should be used more. I really do. It's stackable. The 2 and 2 is interesting. I think it goes with Vengeance. And I think it comes back to PvE versus PvP. I think it's okay. I think my dog is howling and I have to go let it inside. And I would say that's good right off the bat. Just hold on one second. Actually, a chainsaw. So I love that my dog sounds like a chainsaw. I mean, it is a husky, and they do sound like chainsaws when they howl. I think this is okay. I do think this is very interesting, especially when you combine it with like Vengeance. Or, well, not Vengeance. What was it called? Vigilance. Vigilance. I think these are skills like people are just like sleeping on. It's right there with like hamstring or more. I just think they're just not. And this one comes back to ambushes are awkward as fuck in PvP. In PvE, they can't help but ambush. They love ambushing, and you can trigger an ambush in a way where you can disengage right after it. 4 meters movement. This is like repentance. Like, say you're the sisters. I'm the sisters. Now, okay, this you'd have to make it a Lad's Got Talent. Okay, I just remembered. But anyway, let's just take basic instead then. You pick up a stone. You trigger this ambush. You can trigger a few of them. You put 4 Sigmar. I mean, this bitch is running across the map. It's crazy. If you're the witch hunters, you do ardent cleansing and you get ambushed, and then you're like running across the map. This naked man with a fucking flail. And movement's really important. And I think you can get a lot of use out of this in PvP, PvE, and where you're trying to loot the map and whatnot. In PvP, it's a bit different, but I do want to consider PvE in this aspect. And that disengage, you would put the disengage rune on your head too, right? When you disengage, you gain like 1 meter or two. There's like it's fucking crazy what you can get out of these. And I think it could be really fun to take something like that. And I think it's okay because it very much has a use window. Um, I would almost call it good, especially in PvE. In this one, like 4 meters for 3 turns, everyone gets repentance, and you can stack it like a stacking repentance or ardent cleansing. You could easily trigger a few ambushes right away against the AI. I just think that's kind of crazy, and you can go get their flag right away, and then you get even more movement. I think like it's a really interesting combination. Yeah, I don't know about adding the SP recovery when you trigger an ambush instead. I think this is just fine. It does the same kind of thing. Um, I don't like the idea of just like having a unit hoover across the map, trigger an ambush. Oh, I triggered your ambush. Oh, I triggered your ambush. Especially with like the vigilance we were talking about. It's like I triggered all the ambushes and I got 40% melee resistance and I can come back to base now. Like that strikes me as not good tactically. Um, yeah, like unhealthy. Resist magic. Okay, magic is dangerous. We got a little hurricane. Um, the three of like half of the warbands have a version of this, so that's its first problem, right? There's Zinch warding, there's protection of Sigmar, and then the witch hunters have like fucking 5 because they've overinvested in resist magic. So those warbands all struggle to take it. We've also talked previously about frenzy. Like this is basically frenzy without any of the damage, right? I think I'd rather have frenzy. Um, so it has to compete with frenzy with those other warbands as well. So it's tough for this skill. That said, I found a lot of use with it with my warp guards. Like Skaven are very prone. I think my Rat Ogre, the regular Ogre, there's a lot of builds that will still take this because they have no other option. In that regards, it's decent. So it's starting to fall into that like it's okay, it does its job, and I don't even want to say one's better than the other one. 15% is rough, but that's basically you negate the skill that the caster took because mostly every caster doing damage wants to take it. The other caveat we have to think about PvE. Like if you think about PvE, it honestly has to go here, and I'm going to talk about PvE. But it's a big part of PvP. So it's just kind of okay. It's doing its job. The mastery, the basics, probably not any good because you would never really take in a PvE warband. You want the AI to cast at you. And then, yeah, so Paranoia had one with, so that's usually what you do. You take resist magic and you take frenzy on your ogre. It's like, all right, I figured that out. Like the rat ogre and the ogre. That's like standard for them. So the only thing left is what the crypt horror. He'd probably do that too, to be quite honest. And you slap amulets on them. So, um, if you're pressed in a build, though, I think you would take frenzy over this usually, especially on an impressive. Like the impressive can't loot or shit anyway. So if you told me I could only take my build only allows you to take frenzy or resist magic, I would take frenzy every time, right? So it's worse than frenzy in my opinion. It inherently has to be in the job it's doing. Then knowledge of Mordheim. Holy shit, this thing. There's nothing ever had to change from it. Um, It's such a weird one, right? Because like you would say like God, but it's also like useful until it's not useful, right? Movement's amazing. It's great. Gets you all over the map. You can position better. It's great. And then you're in combat and you're never using it, right? Um, yeah, Frenzy Impressives don't care about stances though. Their stance is 700 HP. That's my stance. Come get through my stance. Um, like most of them can't use shields anyway. Like only the when who you would the maiden use a shield? You could parry with a sword, I guess, but anyway. Um, we talked about death stance and all. Right? Anyway, knowledge of Mordheim, 2 meters movement. You can get from 6 to 8, 8 to 10. Like this is a good thing. I would say it's in the good to great area. Probably great because so many people take it. And I think they're literally the same. It's hard to say there's a difference between the two. The next jump does one more. It's four more, but that one more is kind of a big deal. If it's like armor, we talked about armor proficient, it could kind of negate that. I think it's just a great skill, and there's not much else to be said about it. Either you want it on the build to move around, or you don't. And like every build I have 6 meters movement on, I'm suffering internally. So, and I'm always just like, I wish I had knowledge of Mordheim. But we just talked about these other skills, like this knowledge ambush, repentance, force. There's a lot of different ways to get movement in the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be knowledge of Mordheim, and that's a good change. It's a change that's big in the mod. So, it's annoying when your opponent has this because like the AI, they just fucking run at you, or your other opponent, right? Your human opponent. So that was actives, right? No, passives. Now we have to do actives. Why not the augur? Come on, girl. Then we need to take a mage, right? Do we do? No, we did actives. What am I even doing? We're doing passives for mages. I think that's what we're doing now. Arcane study, and then we have to do like the holy ones. I mean, honestly, it's going to be the same. I just won't know the pictures. For casting. Oh, we missed improved tactics or something, I guess, too. Knowledge tactics. Okay, that should be it. Okay, channeling. This is literally god tier in vanilla. You'd be insane not to take it because of the curses. In this now, it just increases damage. So 30%, we have to talk about what that means. So you can take whatever thing. 35 damage. We've increased that by 30%. So that's 9 more damage. Your lightning does 9 more damage. But when you increase intelligence, it also increases your damage. And then there's the spell binding. Like there's all these things. So 9 more damage is like 30 more damage for your lightning. We'll just round. Per round, right? And then that's just from channeling. And so you add in the other ones. It starts to be this thing that you invest in it or you don't invest in it. So that becomes the pure casting class. You get the spell binding on your staff. You get the pain amulet on your head. You get channeling. I don't have fuck all for that in this tournament. I haven't seen a single spell binding thing. Good luck to anyone getting one. I haven't found a single pain fucking headgear. So there's this. I've been talking about comets now. How disappointing they've been. Like I can't even invest in like the extra damage too. So paranoia likes to think about balance in regards to progression. Well, I can tell you there ain't any fucking spellbinding or pain runes anywhere to be found. So am I going to invest in channeling? Because I just said you want to keep investing in it. So in this regards, it's pretty bad. Um, Especially when you compare it to other things that you're going to want to take right below it, expert casting and improved casting. Out of the three, I would say channeling is the worst. Channeling's this fucking guy going to the goth concert. Um, I don't think I've ever seen anyone take basic. 10%, we just talked about it, is 3.5 damage on your lightning, the best spell in the game. You know, it's okay to good. Like, it does its job. I'd say it's good in the damage builds that they always want it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. It's just okay. If you want a damage build, you're doing it. You're not, if you're order who barely have any magic spells, it's probably not nearly as good. My Comet and Soulfire, yay, which is a different picture in its own right. So we could actually rate that differently. Um, I don't want to say it's great or anything because we just talked about the damage, and if it's 9 is the best version per spell, that's not like a huge amount, right? It matters, but is it going to be the difference between a unit living and dying? A lot of times, maybe not. But you want to stack it with the other stuff. Arcane Study. This is why it looks so familiar. I would just say that's really bad. I mean, maybe that's like cruel, but it suffers from having passive slots. I don't think anyone just does the basic. The basic gives you 2 spell points. It's very rare that you just want 2 spell points. There's a few exceptions, maybe like the Thrall, but she's losing a passive slot. So she can do, but she could just take the book. What am I even talking about? But you could take this one and then the book and then get like a mastered spell. But you couldn't because she starts with, never mind. So yeah, it's like bad even for her. Maybe if you don't have any books of magic, I don't know. There's very few situations where you just want a two cost spell. Maybe like a healing hands on the priest. I didn't take it, but 200 heal for this is fine. Um, and I think that's, so that's maybe mean. It's like bad because you usually don't stop at it. You could almost say it's okay because it has a use function, honestly. Like that healing hands is a use function and it costs you literally nothing. I think this is elite to godly. I don't want to say it's godly because not every caster uses it. But unlocking a 4th mastery level spell is fucking crazy. I love it. I love everything about it. And I think it's the perfect cost. Like I've talked so much in these rankings about how much the cost matters. If you get the cost right and nail it, it's awesome. If you don't, it's bad. That is the perfect fucking cost. The cost is truly the passive slot. Because you're competing with this, knowledge of Mordheim, like that, that's not it. But I mean, like that is the true cost. And if this cost anything more, you would never fucking take it. So, like, I'm looking at it like, I'll be honest, like my Purifier and my Wolf Priest are currently actively fucking training this. Like, this, in progression tournaments, you can unlock spells faster as well, which I guess I should have, that's also why this is probably okay. You can unlock the lightning sooner, right? In fact, it's probably better than okay. But like being able to have more flexibility in your build, like I talk about the Warlock spell book and how every single spell in it is amazing. And so it's hard for me not to take study on every single Warlock I'll ever make. The Warrior Priest has an amazing spell book, and you want to take like every fucking spell in his book. Like, all these warbands, all these casters, you like, I want more spells. The undead, it's like, I want all of these spells. Give me all of these spells. And I think this only increases tactics. It's not making, per se, anyone like that much stronger. It clearly is, but it's just like, you're paying you're paying the passive slot and the skill points to be more tactical. And to me, that's exciting and fun and rewarding and worth it. Because it's fun to be more tactical when I need to be more tactical. And to me, it's worth that cost. So I rate it very highly. Expert casting, I think, is also pretty fucking amazing. Now, again, I've talked about how you took away the conspiracy rune. You sure as shit didn't take away the staff. The destruction casters just have it so much better than the order casters because they have staffs which increase spellcasting by 7 or 6 meters range. Then you take this and they get 16 meters range. There's also, I believe on your helmet, you can take another 6. It's reach. So you can have a 42 meter range cast on destruction. The order does not. They cap at 36. 42 fucking meters is insane. I streamed Griffin playing Lias right here. And I was shocked by his ability to still cast, was it Lifesteal? He was like across the map, all the way at his cart on Merchants 3 or something, I think it was. And he was casting into that corner building 36 meters away. He was nuking the guy. I was like, what the fuck? I can't come close to this with my sisters. So he could take another 6. And he was out casting longbows and guns. It's fucking crazy. So, like, the staff range plus this is just, it's just nuts. I don't know. I guess we're looking at the Warlock. And I think there is a distinction. Like, I think it's even better on them because they cast debuffs more than buffs. So you really want to have the range. I would say this is actually kind of like godly. And this is good. Sometimes maybe you don't have the skill points. But, like, 10 meters is a big difference between hitting a target and retreating and living. So, yeah, and then acid breath, lightning, this really makes those pop and hit targets. Like, it's really, really good. It's the difference between hitting targets and not hitting targets. And, like, you want to hit targets. Which comes into improved casting. I would say the first one's just kind of really bad. No one ever takes that. Honestly, I don't have to move that much further. Like 5% is not a big deal. That could be like trivial to train, honestly. It could also be like 10%. But then you'd probably take that and like I don't want to say 10 and 20, but I think you like go all in on this one. This isn't a thing like literally henchmen can't use it, right? So you're either going all in on it or you're not. Like 5% is so piddling. Now, improved casting, this is a Warlock. This is the destruction one. I would say him specifically, it's godly because he stacks it with concentration. And then he gets 30% bypass, which is right up here, right? So that's amazing for him. I still think it's really good for the other destruction casters because they're debuff casters. So they want to bypass your resistances. It's less good for like sisters because I'm just buffing my fucking team and maybe doing a shitty comment. So I think it's also like way up there and casters are going to want to take it. I think you take range over that, honestly, but it's a minor. You still need to land your cast. Otherwise, you're not doing anything. You're not fucking doing a thing at all. So it's essential to those builds. Then we leave back, because I missed this one, to knowledge tactics. It's just, I don't think I even put avoid and parry that high. I just think it's not that good. 15% is not a big fucking deal. To get both, why not? Why wouldn't you take this over the other ones if you can get it? Right? And then so the mastery is 45, which is pretty good. I would say it's honestly okay. If your unit can afford it, getting both is always going to be better than not. And the only sole reason is Daredevil builds. And the AI does use Daredevil builds. So if I could take that over Flash Parry Mastery or Avoid Mastery, I think I would take this every time. Like there's no reason not to have 45 if both. So the big caveat's 15 intelligence, right? So if you're going to take one of the passives, I think you would take this over Avoid and Flash Parry. Now, Mork was talking a lot about cost, and he does have a point here. Flash Parry is only 3 weapon skill, and it's like dirt fucking cheap. Where this is the same cost as Avoid. So why wouldn't I take this over Avoid? I don't know. Sometimes you might actually even want to parry to get your OP back. If you know you're not being parry bypass, say a novice should still maybe have decent weapon skill, so maybe she can parry and counter, right? So it's more expensive. It's strictly better than Avoid, to be quite honest, because they both cost the same. It's just a question of, do you have 15 intelligence versus 15 agility? We've talked about, like, if you have 15 agility, he just did these, and I think I said the same thing. You're usually close to 20 anyway, and why do you need 45 Avoid? I mean, that's kind of rough. Like, you're way overdoing it. 120 is generally just enough. Like, the AI might have weak spot, you know, you never know. And I guess that's why you would say. But generally, it's enough to keep your units alive. Oh, you got Lads Got Talent on here, huh? What are we looking at for some of these other ones? Are they just all the holy version? It's devotion. But to be fair, there was a difference, so it is important to do this, I guess. Not that. I guess piety was one. They're going to be a little out of order, but only because when I find them. And it was divine study. All right, so devotion. I would say it's actually a little lower. Because they don't do as much casting. So if that's good, well, you know, it's still kind of good. I mean, honestly, if you're doing the casting, you're doing the casting. And this one doesn't need to move. I don't think you take the basic ever. Like the comets are going to give you even less than lightning was. So terrible. I just don't think you take it. And then that's the study, right? We'll just do that because I recognize them. I think it's literally the same. Either you want them or you don't. Piety increase the range. It's this weird fucking thing. I don't even know where the eyeball is anymore. I would say, yeah, maybe it's okay. I wouldn't say it's good anymore, because debuffs are usually near your own team. Sometimes, or buffs. I'm sorry. So sometimes, and a lot of them are around the caster anyway. I would say this is like a notch lower, maybe just great, because you still want the range. Say you're doing comets, but literally soulfires around the caster themselves. Is there any other holy spell damage? I don't think there is. There's comets and soulfire. Am I like totally forgetting a unit? I don't think so. I mean, so 4 comets, like to get more range, okay, that's all right. I think it is like, but you're usually like throwing armor of righteousness or something, which it can be good to like have the range on that. But like a warrior priest, I think really like maybe you can make healing hands a little easier to get off, right? But we're talking about like that's not up here. That doesn't sound like this tier, does it? So like the basic one can be enough maybe for the healing hands, and it's okay. I wouldn't say they're terrible or anything, because having range and SP saving and things like that are always a good thing. But I think there is a distinction to be made between destruction and order, and I think they're definitely tiers lower for that in that regard. And you got improved pair. Again, this comes back to like I am buffing more than I'm debuffing. That was the same one, right? I think that's like the. It's just not good. It's bad. It could almost be awful. And then, or was it? Was it? Which one was it? Was that right? Yeah, I think it's this one. I would say it's just again a tier or two below, because you're going to be doing more buffing than like casting, but you still want to bypass. I mean, this is the great tier. This is great tier. I just don't think there's needs to be a slight distinction between them, because this is doing fuck all for you when you're casting Armor of Righteousness. It's doing absolutely nothing. The Warlock is not casting any buffs on his team at all, ever. The Eshin does do a couple. The Necromancer does some, right? So it's not totally like a blanket, but there's a distinction, which gets us back to, I think we should pick the most appropriate unit for this. The Marksman. I don't. This is another awkward one. It's just like Born Leader. So it's pretty easy to do basic. Yeah. No one ever. Why would you ever stop at that? And I don't know. Let's just have fun. I think it is God tier. It just increases tactics. It increases fun. You get to do things with it that you normally wouldn't be able to do. Some units are just like game breaking once they become like the Warp Guard, the Marksman. There's like so many fun builds out there that can do crazy things with Lad's Got Talent. It unlocks things that you couldn't normally have, like stat. It literally unlocks masteries, stat maximums, things like that. It's just weird. It's funny to rank. It's like, yeah, this is God tier. It increases diversity and things like that. Oh, I made that only elite. Probably because of the possessed. I blame the possessed. So there's like one at a time. This is the leadership skills. We got Serenity, Insult Basic, Order, Born Leader. Insult Mastery, Retreat Basic, Coordination Mastery, Intimidate Basic, Order Mastery, Serenity Basic. What the fuck were these? That's not good. You know, those things. Oh, that was Demoralize. It's Demoralize. It's such a random picture for it. Introspection, every single archer build ever. Lad's Got Talent. Range for the destruction, you know. The studying books. More spells. Mastery introspection for archers again. Magic resistance bypass. Knowledge of Mordheim. This was quick prayer or something, wasn't it? This was literally for the Doomweaver. Is this supposed to be the lowest ranked? Is to the left or to the right? I think that was just for the Doomweaver. Like caveat. Poor alertness. What do you do with them? But I don't think any of them are truly that game changing, right? So, and they're all kind of in a decent spot right here, though. There's a big bulk of them that are like useful and above, right? Which is pretty good. There's a lot more down here that aren't good, so that's fine for alertness in that sense. So there's the mentals. I'm going to go work on my mentals. It's a sunny day. They do get, I think they get 8 SP, man. They do, because my augur has one more. I was talking about how it unlocks things that they can do with they want it, like the champion and augur. It unlocks a lot of things that they can do that they normally wouldn't. Honestly, you could put Born Leader up there just for funds. I think I was going to, and then I was joking about the possessed. But like an Eshin leader, there's a lot of really good leaders. I mean, it just makes the builds more fun and stuff. And to me, that's really fun. It's not like you'll always take it. Same with this. Those two are just really awkward to rank. Let's be honest. So Thanks for watching. We still got the marshals. We'll do another day. Maybe we'll do like warband specific. I don't know what we've got in store. Um, but these are fun to do. I hope you guys enjoy them. Um, yeah, it's like fun to see it all like versus just talking about warbands one at a time when you're building them, and I think the game's in a good, well balanced place for a lot of stuff. So thanks again, Paranoia, and everyone for playing the game. Couldn't do it without all of you. So see you guys next time.